Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's me, it's the Gene. And to my right, I got Mr. Mo. He's not doing good. He's doing better. Mo better. Good morning. How you feeling this morning?
Hey, good morning, Gene. Good morning to everybody out there joining us.
You know, I had to give a little reference to some WWE after this past weekend. I don't look, we can open up. I'd rather open up with this pretty quickly. Elimination Chamber was wild, right? And watching that Saturday night to see the heel turn of John Cena, it was interesting, man. It was interesting. The WWE now successfully on 3 straight premium live events, Netflix Day One, the Royal Rumble and Elimination Chamber has absolutely got me wrong. I've got it wrong, right? I never get it wrong. It's predictable to me. It's been predictable for years. I still love it, but it's been predictable. You knew Cody was going to beat Roman last year. You knew that on night 1 of WrestleMania that The Rock and Roman were going to win because it was going to be bloodline rules. You knew all these things were going to happen. I did not think that Jey Uso would win the Royal Rumble. I did not think Bianca Belair would win Women's Elimination Chamber. And then I did not think John Cena would make a heel turn on his farewell tour. I thought this was supposed to be a love, loyalty, and respect tour. It's not. It's absolutely going to be John Cena cinema, which I am here for, right? I did not want, I tell you right now, I was very against the John Cena farewell tour. Let's give him a championship. He's going to be all lovey-dovey, and I wasn't for it. I was for what happened at Elimination Chamber. I'd love to get your real thoughts on this to see what your thoughts are and everything. But what were your thoughts on Elimination Chamber?
They hit it out the park again. They threw me for a loop in the women's match. I didn't see Bianca winning, not because she's not talented enough or gifted enough performer. I just saw her story going somewhere else, and I really did believe that Alexa Bliss was going to win. Now, look, having said that, I want to give a shout out to Liv Morgan, because Liv Morgan put on a show in the Elimination Chamber. She didn't win, but she was amazing in the chamber. It was just a great match. And look, I don't know what her contract stipulates, but for her to take that whip across the back from Bianca's hair, look, she should have got a bonus for that. That was that was brutal. I felt that. And then you get to the men's match, and yeah, I had it completely wrong. And I love that sometimes WWE can zig when we zag. We were all leaning towards it's going to be CM Punk. They're going to disappoint him again. He's ready to sell his soul because he said no matter what, he wants to be a main event at a WrestleMania. And it's Cena. And you think, okay, it's Cena. So Cena winning the Elimination Chamber, last thing on your mind is going to be John Cena being the other guy. Cody comes down. Of course, Rock makes his whole speech, and he's like, I want, what is it going to be? And he tells Cody, if it's yes, your dream's coming true. If it's no, the American nightmare, the dream comes to an end. Basically a threat. And Tony, to our surprise, Cody gets strong. Hey, he tells Rock to himself. And when he does it, as soon as he does it, mind you, the whole time, my wife says, why is John Cena still in the ring? What's he got to do with this? And I was like, I didn't even think about that. Why the hell is he there? It has nothing to do with him. He's already won the Elimination Chamber. But Cena, when he says that, Cena, he's all excited. He's laughing. You're thinking, yeah, Cena's with Cody. And then he goes to hug him. And still I'm like, Cena and Cody right in Rock's face. And there's this pause. And Cena, suddenly his face turns into the face of a serial killer. That quick. And you're like, oh, no, this can't be happening. And Rock gives a signal. And it happens. And it blew my mind. I haven't felt like this in a wrestling moment since Hogan turned. I felt like that. I saw Hogan come down to the ring. I was like, it's about to get busy in here. Him and Macho Man, they're about to square up. the Hogan turn was the biggest turn I've ever seen. I think this is as big.
Bro, it was, and you know what the funny thing is? You wouldn't even talk about, and granted, selfishly, I understand why it's my favorite part of the show, but my favorite return wasn't I Hear Voices in My Head. It was a storm is coming. And when Jade Cargill came down to the ring to absolutely destroy Naomi, and like everyone's been predicting for months, Naomi was the one that jumped her. I kind of knew that was going to happen. But what I want to give credit to is I have, you know what I came away from Elimination Chamber thinking? We talked about this last week where Bianca Belair should be higher ranked in the top 10 of all time. And a lot of people said, oh, she only has like one real title run. And you know what I came away from this Elimination Chamber thinking? Bianca Belair is about to get a starship put directly on her back. Like they are absolutely preparing for the second Bianca Belair run. Like her winning, but forget her winning, right? Think about her acting when she was inside the box when Jade was attacking Naomi.
Oh yeah, that was amazing. Like I was convinced. Yeah,
that was cinema. And you know, I gotta give Jade. Jade is absolutely one of my favorite wrestlers I've ever seen come into WWE. I think that she has an aura about her that she is going to be one of the greatest to ever do it if she maintains what she's doing. Like just her attitude, her aura, her strength, her dominance. Like when she walks into the ring, like and just starts attacking Naomi, and the boot that puts her into the one of the pods. Oh my god. It was just a fun Elimination Chamber, man. There were so many good things.
It started off the hook, like you said. Jade coming down, and the crazy part is you're looking at her come down, and you're like, oh no, it's about to get busy. She's coming for Liv, and Liv's like, I think she's coming for me. It wasn't me. And then she just lays into Naomi, and I was like, yo, a lot of people were right. You were right. You told me on the show it's gonna be Naomi, and she is laying in. I mean, when she like demolished Naomi, but the crazy part was watching Bianca Belair put on a show. Like I was like, she could have her own series. Like I didn't know she could play it up like that. Like that was convincing. If you didn't know it was sports entertainment, you really would have thought the emotions that she was displaying was going on. I got caught up in all that. They had me from that point on, and then the match itself was very entertaining. But you just made a point about how Bianca is getting ready to get a rocket ship put on her back, and she's about to go on another run. I believe you're right. My question is, and I'm wondering, is she going to go on another run as a face or a heel? Because we know it's Naomi, but is it 100% resolved that Bianca wasn't involved either, and she was just playing it up? Like, I'm interested in thinking, or does Jade think Bianca was involved some kind of way? Like, so I'm wondering, is she going to go forward as a heel or a face at some point?
Well, they're putting up her. She's got to go against Rhea.
Right, but what is Rhea?
Rhea right now is a face.
Yes, right, so correct.
I think that what you're saying is very logical, and I think you might get a Bianca heel turn. You know that always the thing that kind of like makes me question things, right? John Cena, Hustle, Loyalty, Respect, the farewell tour, the final tour, they did everything they could to sell that merch while they could. Because once you become a heel, you have to be the best heel to get merchandise sold, like Roman Reigns was, like with the Bloodline merch. You have to be the best heel to do that. And Bianca Belair has been like such a model citizen for young women, young girls. She is absolutely like the Cody Rhodes, the super baby face, right?
Yeah.
So to turn her heel, it's going to happen, right? I think it happens. I think it happens before WrestleMania, and I think that she becomes one of the greatest WWE women's champions. But we'll see how that plays out. But I'll tell you what. Looking at Royal Rumble and heading into WrestleMania, I am almost sure that at least two main titles change hands.
Oh, I agree. I think at least two. I'm with you. And back to Jade Cargill real quick. There's been some great women performers that were power wrestlers. she's the first one that had the combination of charisma, and I think she has in-ring talent. I think she could be the first woman wrestler who could have a presence as a woman in the women's division, like the Undertaker had in the men's division. I think she could be that kind of overseer that she'll have a belt at times, but even when she doesn't have the belt, she'll be the most feared person in the locker room.
Completely agree with you. Really, when that started the show, it was so good. And that's not even talking about the Kevin Owens Sami Zayn match that was incredible with Randy Orton's return. I do think that the Tiffy and Trishy time match, I could have did without that. Like, I understand why they did it for Trish.
It was the only match, Gene, that I got up and went and got something to snack on.
Yeah.
It wasn't, and I don't dislike any of the performers. It was the one dull moment of the night. And I just stepped away. There was no real chemistry there. It just didn't work.
No, definitely didn't. But whatever. We had a very good pay-per-view as a whole, or a premium live event, not a pay-per-view anymore. I gotta get out of that mentality. It's been for years that I've constantly said, whatever, it's premium live event. I will say this: the one thing that you love more than anything is you can't wait to see what happens on Raw. You can't wait to see what happens on SmackDown with Bianca and Jade. Like, I don't know. It's just one of those things that, like, you look forward to the next show, and that's what the sign of a good show is. Let's move on. We talked 10 minutes of WWE. Your team made a trade. Well, agreed to make a trade. It's not official until the league makes things official. But the San Francisco 49ers are sending Deebo Samuel to the Washington Commanders for a 5th-round draft pick. Now, the San Francisco 49ers are absorbing $31 million of dead money, and the Washington Commanders are absorbing his entire salary cap. A 5th-round pick, a lot of people, the immediate reaction was the Commanders this is a great trade for them. This is amazing. I don't know if I 100% agree with that. He's not going to ever be this 1,400-yard receiver again. I just don't know. I don't think he's that guy. What are your thoughts, your instant reaction on the trade, and what it means to the 49ers, what it means to the Commanders? And I think that the 49ers did it for, obviously, to shed salary cap, because they gotta sign Purdy, and they're trying to do that. But what were your thoughts overall on the trade?
My initial thoughts were that they had to move. They were going to move Deebo. Once they paid Ayuk, I already knew they were not going to pay 2 wide receivers that type of money. So I knew once that happened, the writing was on the wall that this past season was going to be our last season with Deebo Samuel. So I thought maybe one more good run. It didn't happen. Look, I think Deebo Samuels is a very unique and talented football player. And if you just label him a football player, he's one of the best football players in the league. But at his actual position, I don't think he's a top 10 wide receiver. I don't. He's not a great route runner. He's one of those guys that does most of his work in the hashes in the middle of the field or a bubble screen. I've always looked at Deebo Samuels as like a running back with great hands. I think he has great hands. And once he gets the ball in his hands and he's on the move, he's one of the hardest guys in the league to tackle. Like, he's a battering ram with speed. So I know why the Redskins or the Commanders did it. They're thinking he's going to be, and he could be a huge weapon. But if they're trading him or trading for him because they think they've got another 1,000-yard receiver, that's not going to happen. That's not what he is. He's not that guy. It's not like he's going to go there and be their best receiver. He's not their best receiver. I was thinking last night, if you know how you often do those Deebo Samuels or this guy, Deebo Samuels or that guy, I could probably go through 10, 12 receivers that I would take before Deebo Samuels as a receiver. So I know the Commanders' plans, and I know that he does has value, but for the 49ers and the situation that they're in, he was a luxury they couldn't afford.
So the one, I compare him to, and I don't, this might sound weird to you, but it's funny that Carmike put this in the chat. He reminds me a lot of Cordero Patterson.
Yes.
And
Yes.
what I see with that is a guy that's very difficult to tackle, a guy that's like a power back, a guy that can get you short yardage plays, a guy to throw the bubble screen to. He's never going to be a guy that's going to just beat you downfield. He shouldn't be. Like unless there's like a blown coverage, Debo should not be a guy that just beats you downfield. I think Debo will be fine in Washington, right? I think Cliff Kingsbury and that Washington offense will find ways to utilize him. Think about what happened this year with De'Ami Brown, right? You already have your burner with Terry McLaurin, which opens up the middle of the field. So think about what happened this year with De'Ami Brown. They basically turned him into a slant and a drag merchant. And if you're going to have a receiver be a slant and a drag merchant, he's got to be able to get yards after catch.
Correct.
He's got to be able to complete that yak, right? And Debo's going to be that guy for Washington. He's great at getting the yards after the catch. Think about the NFC Championship game, one of the most pivotal points of that game. It's 20-12 Philadelphia, and the Commanders get the ball. Everyone forgets this point. They see the final score, and they see the game was a blowout. Eagles were up 8 points. Commanders had the ball. A 7-yard slant drag to De'Ami Brown, and Zach Bond punched the ball out. And the Eagles recovered and went up 28-12. That was when that game ended. It was then. It'd be hard pressed for me to think that as a Commanders fan, you don't think about that exact moment when you make the trade for Debo Samuel. Giving up a fifth for Debo is going to be great because for them, you're only getting a couple years of Debo because you have to pay Jaden in a few years. Obviously, you have 2-3 more years. You have 3 more years of him. You can get him on that rookie contract. Think about what Seattle did with the Legion of Boom. They created that whole team around Russell Wilson because he was on a rookie contract.
Right.
This is what the Commanders are doing. They're going to overpay for a guy that probably isn't an elite wide receiver, but what he does is he fits them. So I think his value is a lot higher on certain teams, and Washington is one of them.
I would agree with that 1,000%. Man, I love the Cordero Patterson comp. I think that's exactly who he is. Or I would go a step further. He's a better version of Cordell Patterson, but that's exactly who he is. And you're right. In that offense, in that system, with that particular quarterback, I think they'll get if Debo is going to be big, be impactful, it'll be on that team. There are teams that he fits to a T. I just don't think, like I said, with the Niners, for what they need, they don't need that, not especially at the price. So again, sure, most of it was about money, but I would say that just look at his time with the Niners. One huge season, and then he's been pretty good. Not which isn't a bad thing, but a lot of people always spoke of him like he was one of the elite receivers, and I don't see him that way.
I'm with you. It'll be interesting to see how things play out. Debo and Scary Terry. I mean, I think that is at the end of the day, Debo is going to bring a physicality, a toughness that Washington Commanders team is going to need. I'll say this, and I don't want to. My goal is not to trash Jaden Daniels. I'm not going to do that. But what I will tell you is, pump the brakes. Too many guys are putting this guy as a top 5 quarterback right now, and he just remember what all I want to do is take you back 12 months from now and ask you where your thoughts are on CJ Stroud and where they are now. That's all I want to do. Let's go back 12 months.
I'm
one of the greatest rookie seasons ever. And now sophomore slump. And what did they do in the offseason, Mo? They added Joe Mixon, Stephon Diggs. It's like another year Tank Dell. Nico Collins emerges. He looked worse. Sophomore year slump is a real thing. And I'm not saying that Jaden's going to fall into that. But what I am saying is stop putting him in your top 5 quarterbacks. He's not there yet. He's great. He's electric. He's not top 5.
I'm with you 1,000%. Look, I'm still a fan of CJ Stroud, but he had this sensational breakout rookie season. They got tape on him. They got film on him. The league readjusted, and the mission should have been for him to readjust to the league. He wasn't horrible, but he wasn't spectacular. He was okay. He was solid. I still think he's developing. I don't think he's a a finished product. But I'm with you. I think Jaden Daniels was sensational last year, but it was 1 year. It was one sample point. The league will adjust to him. I made the point that Jaden could be better in terms of his numbers, but the Redskins overall, I don't think they're going to be as good. If you look at some of the games they won, I don't think being cardiac kids is a recipe for being like a dominant team. I don't, because those games could easily have flipped the other way around. So I think Jaden is talented, and I think he has a bright future. I'm with you. I think it's insane when people already have him top 5.
See, I said this when they traded for him. Carmike, he said CJ Stroud got messed up because Diggs demands the ball, and I think he messed the Texans' chemistry up. I don't want to give him that much power, that much credit.
But Diggs got hurt.
Correct. He got
hurt. Right. Diggs was out. So the Diggs was out of the equation. Stroud just didn't play well. He has one obvious problem. He holds on to the football too long.
Yep. We'll talk about that offensive line, and we'll get more and more into that as we continue rolling. I do have to bring up something from the combine. And I don't think there was a guy yesterday that lost himself more money at a combine than Isaiah Bond. And I kind of want to bring this up because I'm just trying to going into the combine yesterday. Isaiah Bond was ranked the number 10 receiver on Mel Kiper's big board, which basically has him as a late second rounder, early third rounder. He's known to be a speedster. That's what he's supposed to be coming into the NFL. People are going to buy into Isaiah Bond based on his speed. He better run a pro day, and he better run a pro day with as many NFL scouts as he can get there, because I'm going to give you the quotes. This is what he said. I'm going to break a record tomorrow for sure. I anticipate running a 4.20. And if I'm feeling great, I might run a 4.1. I guess later Friday, what separated him from the receivers in this draft class, what separates me from the rest of this class is that sheer speed. There's not a receiver that has the speed and capabilities that I have. It's not just speed. I'm a complete receiver. I have amazing routes. If you watch the tape, you'll see that. Isaiah Bond ran a 4.4 and a 4.39. Look, people have bad days sometimes. Maybe your muscles aren't where they need to be at. I know Isaiah Bond's a fast receiver. I watched him play football. But you can't make comments like that and then walk into the combine. And it wasn't like he ran a 4.26, right? It wasn't like he ran a 4.29. Like the over-under for his 4.2 was 4.25. That was the over-under they listed at that people could bet on. I mean, he went way over. Like in terms, I get it. It doesn't sound like it's way over. It's like a tenth and a half of a second. But like that, just to give you a heads up, what a tenth and a half a second is the difference between Lamar Jackson's 40 time and Jalen Hurts. And I want you to think about those two running, and you tell me who's faster.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. The thing is, he was so cocky about it, though. Like he didn't just say that to the media. He was saying that to the other players there at the combine, like, watch me, watch what I do. And, watch me establish the fact that I'm not just a good receiver. I'm the fastest. I have overpowering speed. And look, it's not like he ran a 4.6. Okay. He didn't run like he wasn't stuck in the mud. But if you make that kind of statement, a very Deion Sanders like statement, you better follow up on it. Because it will cost you money. Because like you said, it doesn't seem like it's a big difference. But as soon as it happened, I was like, this is one of them things where if you were running the 100-yard dash in an Olympic and you're a guy that runs like a 10.5, that's a fast dude. But that's probably the 4th or 5th place finisher at the Olympics.
I mean, you're spitting facts right now. That's what you're doing. It's one of those things where you look at that and look, nothing against Isaiah Bond. I think he ends up going in the 4th, 5th round now. And I think that will be, and the difference between a first 3-rounder making your team, being a good member in the NFL versus a 4th, 5th rounder, the odds drop dramatically. And if you're a speed guy and you're going to break Worthy's record, you're a speed guy. If that's your and you run a 4-4, it just reminds me of Jalen Reagor. And what I mean by Jalen Reagor is Jalen Reagor had that same thing. I'm going to run it 4-2. He was the fastest receiver. And the Eagles bought into his combine number. I know his pro day number, which is very skewed for a lot of these athletes. It's their guys as opposed to like NFL, like true scouts. Like, I don't take this the wrong way, but it's different when you're running on your own track with your own guys there. At your own time, whenever you want. You're not like an older, like you're number 17 at the combine, right? On your pro day, it's whenever you want to run. You want to run now? Cool. Whatever your legs feel, they're the best. Whatever you think would be the most, if there winds on your back, we can do it outdoors. We can do whatever you want. Whatever you want, we can do. The NFL Combine doesn't do that, right? It's, all right, number 18, you're up. Number 19, number 20. It's just, that's what it is, right? Not a good day for Isaiah Bond. Just wanted to bring that up. All right, so the Rams have agreed to restructure the deal of Matthew Stafford to stay with Los Angeles. So the reason I bring this up is because all over the weekend and a couple days ago, a report came out in which people had said Aaron Rodgers to the Rams with Davante Adams, they were going to move on from Matthew Stafford. Do you think that the pressure of the Rams having a backup plan helped Matthew Stafford play ball?
I do. Because he didn't want to leave, right? We know he didn't want to leave. So I think that the Rams and he kind of both got what they wanted. They got like a happy middle, like something that they got a contract and a deal that both of them could live with. But I do think the Rams going with, well, if we don't want to lose you and move on from you, but if we have to, we do have a plan. And look, people can say what they want about Aaron Rodgers, but he can still play football. He can still play football at a high level. And had he gone to the Rams with the talent that they have on the receiving, I don't think there would be a huge drop-off. I don't. So I think the Rams played it perfectly, and they came to an agreement.
So, and you're absolutely right. And I think the Rams played it really well. I mean, Stafford over the next 2 years is only getting $35 million guaranteed. And when you think of what the guaranteed money is that people are getting amongst the league, it's insane to think that Matthew Stafford, a guy, and look back, Mike Greenberg said this. I don't agree with it, but he said it. And it kind of, it plays into what Matthew Stafford's argument is. Who is the closest team to beat Philadelphia this year in the playoffs?
The Rams.
The Rams. And if you do not play that game in a blizzard, is the outcome different?
I don't know. I just know that it was a really close game. The Eagles pulled it out, but who's to say? I do know that Stafford probably gives them their best chance to make a run.
Absolutely. It looks like the Rams are going to be figuring out any way to move on from Cooper Kupp, which was Matthew Stafford's old number one receiver. Obviously now it's Puka Nacua, but it looks like they're going to be figuring out a way to move on from Cooper Kupp as Puka Nacua emerges into the number one receiver there. They basically signed Alaric Jackson to a 3-year deal. He's offensive lineman. So offensive tackle, basically to protect Stafford also. They gave him a 3-year, $57 million contract with $35 million guaranteed ahead of free agency. So before he hits free agency, they basically re-sign one of their offensive linemen. Carmike says, I think Rodgers is cooked. And while I don't disagree with you, I actually agree with you. He is going to command attention this offseason. Just who he is. He's an attention whore. He's an attention diva. That's who he is. This offseason, Aaron Rodgers has about 4, in my opinion, 5 real landing spots. And I'm gonna play a game with you, Mo, that you don't know is coming. And it's called Blind Rank these Aaron Rodgers landing spots. And I'm gonna give you 5 football teams, and you're gonna give one is the best spot for Aaron to land, 5 is the worst spot for Aaron to land. But you're not gonna know which one's coming next. You're gonna have to blind rank them.
Got it.
You familiar? All right.
With it.
I'm gonna start with, I guess, a popular one, the New York Giants.
I'll go 1.
You think that's the best spot for Aaron?
Well, I know the Giants, because I think there's a domino effect. The Giants really were interested in pursuing Stafford. I think when you look at the free agent quarterbacks out there, Aaron's the best free agent quarterback. So I do think the Giants will make a run at him. The best landing spot. No, I don't think the Giants are the best run. Maybe I should rewind that. I'm going to rank the Giants and say they're the third best.
Okay. See, it's funny you say that, right? If I was doing this rankings, the Giants, I think Aaron Rodgers is a great landing spot for the Giants.
Right.
I don't think it's a great landing spot for Aaron Rodgers.
Correct.
And if I worded that, like, where's the best spot, like, for him as far as for the team, I think that it's a terrible landing spot for Rodgers. But for the Giants, maybe not terrible, but for the Giants, you have to think about this. They already told Brian Dable, they already told Joe Shane that you don't make the playoffs this year, you are gone. So they're going to go out and get a veteran quarterback. That's going to happen, right? They're not going to go play the long game this year. They can't do that. They have 1 year. All right, so Giants 3. I'm going to go next one. Pittsburgh Steelers.
I would put the Steelers 1.
Okay, I can see that.
Because I think that Rodgers is not just trying to hang on and play football. He wants to play meaningful football. I think that you give him a comparable quarterback like Rodgers, they're going to be a legit contender. So I think I have the Steelers 1.
Mo, once again, me and you completely agree here. I think the Steelers is the best landing spot for Aaron Rodgers. It might not be the best for the Steelers. Right. I'm a Steelers guy. I want Justin Fields to be my long-term option, but I digress. Next one. You got a brand new coach. You don't have a quarterback there. How about the New Orleans Saints?
That's a good one. I'm gonna put the Saints 4th.
Okay. I don't mind that either. I think the Saints situation's terrible. You have Olave coming off of a concussion, and multiple concussions. So, like, the guy, I don't know how he's gonna look coming into the season. You lack cap space. It's a new organization. It's a new leadership group. I don't know how well Aaron Rodgers is going to get along with Kellen Moore. I think 4th or 5th is where I would put that at, but that's definitely a destination. Here's another one. A lot of people think the Tennessee Titans might be going away from a quarterback and getting Abdul Carter from Penn State, the defensive lineman. The Tennessee Titans would be the next option for Aaron Rodgers.
I would put them 5th. I don't know why he would play for Tennessee. They have one of the most overrated receiving cores in the NFL. I don't think he's going to win anything playing in Tennessee. So yeah, I can see where they would be interested, but if he's trying to play meaningful football, I don't know why he would go there.
All right, well then I guess that leaves you just number 2, and that's the Las Vegas Raiders. That's Pete Carroll. Him going to Vegas. I don't think you're going to get a reunite. I don't think you're going to get him reunited with Devontae Adams in Vegas, especially if it happened. But I don't know. It's one of those things. I would have flopped 2 and 5. I think the Titans are a better landing spot because Callahan, the way he builds up his offensive line, they have young wide receivers there. They got guys under contract with Tyler Boyd, who's a perfect Aaron Rodgers type guy. You have, obviously, they took Treylon Burks in the first round just a few years ago. He needs to break out. There needs to be something for him to do. Like, the Tennessee Titans aren't a terrible spot for him, in my opinion. I can understand why you have it ranked 5th because we just watched the Titans have an awful season and they now have the top overall pick. But when you look at their overall team and you see Calvin Ridley, Tyler Boyd, Treylon Burks, Westbrook Akini, and then even a tight end. You got Okongwu. They're essentially a very good tight end for what Aaron Rodgers wants to do. A big, strong tight end that can get those yards after catch. I think that the Titans would be 2. I think the only thing I really disagree with you on is I would have the Saints 5. You had them 4. I'd have the Raiders 4. And now keep in mind, I blind ranked these earlier. And I'd have the Titans 2. But 1 and 3 were spot on, and I can understand exactly where you're at with the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, and look, you made great points about the Titans, but you know what? Looking at both of the coaches and the situations, I think they're going to give Pete Carroll full autonomy to do whatever he wants, whatever he has to do. So I think Brady and all the powers that be, I think they're going to set Pete Carroll up for success. I mean, you're not going to get a Devontae Adams reunion because I don't think the Jets plan on helping Aaron Rodgers out. So I still think, though, I trust in Pete Carroll, even though he's almost as old as I'm slipping. Bill is in college right now. But still, the man knows football, and I think when he has a quarterback, usually he sets them up for success. Aaron Rodgers is a veteran quarterback. I don't think they'll have any problems being on the same page. And everywhere Aaron Rodgers goes, to be clear, he's going to draw attention because that's what he does. Like, if we wanted to do a comp and they're not remotely in the same business, Aaron Rodgers to football is what The Rock is to wrestling. He's an attention whore. He just is. He can't help himself.
I couldn't agree with you more. Want to move over to the hardwood, talk about some NBA action. Last night, real embarrassing game for the Suns. They got the doors blown off them by the Timberwolves. And the moment I wanted to talk about in the game was the Bradley Beal shove of Anthony Davis or Anthony Edwards, wide mid alley-oop. Look, man, I understand that, like, you're trying to stop the guy from scoring 2 points. That is a really, really dangerous play. And, like, in the NBA, like, it's like one of those unwritten rules, right? Like, I know you want to make him earn it from the line, but, like, when you start doing things like that, it starts to have me question your integrity as a basketball player. I've been to LA Fitness, right? And not playing at a real high level, like Carmike in the chat has, and plenty of guys, but like we wouldn't do that to each other there as far as when someone's up in the air, shoving the back. Like even when you're playing rough, right? And the guy's got game point. You're not fouling someone like that there. What were your thoughts on that? Am I overreacting?
No. It was a dirty play. It was an out and out dirty play. And the funny thing is, the announcers were like, well, Bradley Beal is not known for. I don't care what you're known for. In that moment, that was a dirty play. They made the argument, well, he's trying to stop him from making 2 points. Like, it's like, no, he didn't want to be on the highlight. That's what it was. Like that they had bounced the ball. DiVincenzo had bounced the ball, and Ant had got up. They were like, it was like almost like a NBA All-Star dunk contest thing, but it was in real time. And as Ant was rising, Bradley Beal already made up his mind. You're not dunking on me. I'm not going to be part of your highlight. It was a dirty play because you really could have injured him seriously. And I don't care what they try to cover up about it, saying he's a good guy. He don't have that rep. In that moment, he was a dirty player making a dirty play. And I hope that Adam Silver and company, they make him pay for it because that was reckless and really dangerous.
Yeah, Carmack says, I mean, it was back in the 90s basketball, I guess. Even in the 90s, though, that would encourage the fight. And, like, the fact that Bradley Beal went over to help him up right afterwards, he was trying to, it's not really that deep. We're good. I don't know, man. I don't like it. I don't like it.
He went over to help him up because he knew it was a dirty play.
Exactly. It's kind of where my head goes. In the news of someone didn't tell this guy the memo, like the man didn't get the memo, Quentin Grimes went for 44 points on Saturday night as the 76ers beat the Golden State Warriors. Quentin didn't get the memo. Tyrese Maxey was 2 for 14 for 6 points. Paul George basically did his disappearing act in the first half, did decent in the second half. But it was very obvious that there was one guy out there you were not going to deny, and you were not going to tell that you're supposed to lose this game because you're trying to get a lottery pick. And Quentin Grimes went absolutely off. In a game that makes Gene Walzak look like an idiot, where I want the Sixers to lose and the Warriors to win to make both of what I want to happen. That was the complete moronic play for me. Right. Granted, Jimmy Butler didn't play due to back spasms, and that's going to happen when you're 37 years old. Like, that's just that's what you're at with Jimmy Butler right now. He's going to miss some games down the stretch. But the Warriors can't lose that game. You can't allow Quentin Grimes to get 44 on you. Just can't happen.
At what point do they decide, like, it's weird to say this, but we need to deny Grimes the ball? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's normally reserved for Tyrese Maxey, somebody of that nature. But I feel like the Warriors didn't believe it, and they never believed it. They're like, let him keep shooting. If Grimes is gonna beat us by getting 30 or 35, then we're gonna lose tonight. And he did. And it wasn't just shooting. I mean, he did everything. Like, look, I don't expect Quentin Grimes to have games like this on a regular basis. But I do think, even though when the Sixers initially made the trade, I said they got the better end of the deal. The Sixers did it for money. The Sixers did it for money. But I said they got the better end of the deal because the two players have similar skill sets. But I thought because Grimes is that much younger, that the Sixers got a better end of the deal. I think Quentin Grimes is a terrific player that, look, it won't matter in the bigger picture, but if they keep him, he's the kind of guy that helps you win games. Not a star, but he's one of those guys that helps stars win, if you know what I mean.
You're right, and it's not against Quentin. And Yabusele was playing his ass off too. Like,
I love that guy.
Have some real tryhards, and I love that. What disappointing was I want to say Maxey wasn't trying hard, but Maxey played his worst game of the year. 5 points. He had 2 of 14 shooting. He did have 11 assists, so he definitely was passing the ball. But Quentin Grimes filled up the stat sheet. 44, 6 rebounds, 3 steals. Like, he was all over the place. 6 and 9 from 3, 12 of, this is so silly, 12 of 15 from inside the arc. Like, what was going on? It's the Quentin Grimes legacy game.
Here's the crazy part, though. Like you said, the Sixers are thinking more about keeping that pick, right? Keeping it a top 6 pick. Well, it looks like they're going to have to go to Daryl Morey, and Daryl Morey's going to have to go to the coach and go, we're going to need to, like, hold Grimes out. Like, they're going to have to sit Grimes with a DNP, right? He's going to have to get a bunch of DNPs because guys like Grimes and Yabusele, they only know how to play hard. They only know how to play hard. So if the mission is to go, this season's a wrap, you don't want to put those two guys on the floor because they don't know how to fake it.
You know, the thing is, I love that for those guys. I love the way Yabusele plays basketball, the way Grimes plays basketball, the way Tyrese Maxey normally plays basketball. I love those guys for that, right? Let me just be clear. The reports came out that Daryl Morey was in a heated argument with Joshua Harris, majority owner of the 76ers, about re-signing Joel Embiid. Oh, we have to do it. We have to do it. Now, Daryl Morey's in a lot of hot water with the ownership group based off of this meniscus replacement surgery. Like, Joel Embiid might not just be out this year. He might be done basketball forever. They're working on a surgery that would completely replace his meniscus. Not repair, replace his meniscus. He might be done forever. Now, the thing that helps the 76ers is they have an opt-out clause that if he is medically can no longer play basketball, they can get out of the contract. But where does this leave Daryl Morey? If you're Joshua Harris, which I'm not a Joshua Harris guy to begin with, but if you're Joshua Harris, is this not like grounds for termination?
1,000%. I would have fired Daryl Morey, honestly, with the whole James Harden situation. I would have fired him then. I didn't like
the lie or the original trade.
The original trade.
Okay.
It was unnecessary. Daryl Morey has this addiction to bringing in stars, no matter where they are at in their careers. Bringing in James was like a Band-Aid move, and I'm not saying he was horrible for them, but they didn't need him. You could have brought in just a very good comparable player, and with Maxey and Embiid playing at the top of their games, you would have been fine. I didn't like the move. Having said that, where we are right now, you know Daryl Morey's getting fired. Daryl Morey knows he's getting fired. He's getting fired. He's getting fired. He's absolutely getting fired. They're going to look, Daryl, you've been here X amount of time. Look where we were at before you came, and look where we're at. And I'm talking about the overall health of the franchise. You just put us under the you signed Embiid to the extension, huge extension, knowing his body is breaking down. You got us to bring in Paul George at over $200 million. His body is breaking down, and that's a contract that you couldn't give away now. You're married to Paul George. You're riding that contract out. Everybody's seeing in plain sight that he's a shell of what he was. Yeah, he getting fired.
The part that makes it even more interesting is the report that Shams released just this weekend that Joel Embiid went over Daryl Morey's head to Joshua Harris to say, yo, dude, my knee is like, it's done. I can't, like, normally the reports about Joel Embiid is you can't keep him off the court. Like, you have to have load management. You have to shut him down. And he doesn't want to be shut down. He went to Daryl Morey's head to Joshua Harris to be like, I need to be shut down. Like, this shit is not getting better. It's only getting worse. And he went directly to Joshua Harris. And to add to that, I want you to put these pieces of the puzzle together. Magic Johnson is making 76ers front office moves. I just pause. I want you to hear that again. I want to say it again. Joshua Harris owns the Washington Commanders. And Magic Johnson is a majority stake owner in the Washington Commanders. Magic Johnson is giving basketball advice to Joshua Harris about Daryl Morey. If that's not a conflict of interest, I don't know what is. That's a wild story. But apparently Magic Johnson's been advising Joshua Harris on the situation that's going on in Philadelphia with Daryl Morey. Like, if this isn't like Days of Our Lives soap opera shit, I don't know what to tell you. It's wild to even read that. But you know, when Shams puts a report out, just put fact at the end of it. Like, there's no fiction. Shams is one of those guys that you don't hear a report from him that's not factual.
Okay, so full disclosure, it's not a secret. Magic's my favorite player all time.
Yep.
All right, I love everything about him as a basketball player. I applaud him as for what he's done as a businessman away from the court. But when it comes to analyzing the game that he started at, when it comes to analyzing talent, he's not good at that. He's not good at that. And if Josh Harris is getting advice from Magic Johnson, that's actually worse than keeping Daryl Morey on. Like, I get it. Daryl Morey should be fired, but listening to Magic, don't do that. Magic was the guy that said, Lonzo Ball, before it's all said and done, he's going to be better than me. That number is going to go up in the rafters. Don't draft Jake. We don't need Jason Tatum. We need Lonzo Ball. Magic was that guy. Magic was the guy that when Kawhi Leonard and Uncle Dennis was running game on the Lakers, Magic was the guy that had dinner with them the night before everything broke, went back and told Jeannie and company, I just had dinner with Kawhi and Dennis, don't worry, we're good. He said it in such a confident way. Shannon Sharp, with no full proof this was going to happen, goes on national TV and goes, book it. You can book it. Kawhi is coming to the Lakers. Very next day, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George going to the Clippers. I love Magic, but you don't want to take basketball advice from Magic Johnson.
I mean, it all but looks like Bob Myers is going to be the 76ers next GM. It looks like that's almost a done deal, right? They're waiting for the season to be over. They're going to fire Daryl Morey. They're going to bring in Bob Myers, which I don't have an issue with Bob Myers being the 76ers general manager. He knows what the hell he's doing. Just look at his time in the Warriors if you want to understand he knows what he's doing. But it just seems like just a really bad soap opera in Philadelphia right now.
It seems like a bad look, too, because, look, if you want to fire somebody because you don't like their performance or what they've done, you can do that. You're the owner.
Correct.
It looks shysty, though, when you're getting advice from another guy who's part of an ownership of a different team. Even though he's a former basketball player, it seems like you're going behind Daryl Morey's back, but you're going behind his back in public. Like that looks shady.
Man, it is it's very interesting to say the least. And I'll be really interested to see how that plays out.
Agreed.
Before we wrap up the show, I do have to bring this up. Your Lakers, man, 6-game winning streak. They lost the opening game out the All-Star break to the Hornets in a game that just felt like they were going to lose, even though they were like huge favorites. It was like a bad karma LeBron James loss. the trade that got rescinded. You knew that Charlotte was going to come in there and give a 1,000,000% in that game. But since then, the Lakers are now 6-0, winning 6 straight, and they're now the number 2 seed in the West. It looks like they found an identity with Luka Doncic being their number 1 overall option, as he had 29 points the other night versus the Clippers. Again, Luka looks like he's starting to fit in. And, the thing I look at even more is he had 9 assists. He's starting to know where they're at. Him and LeBron James had 18 combined assists in that game. For 2 players to have 9 assists in a basketball game, it's one of those things I love to see. That's real basketball. I might have to eat my words, man. The Lakers look like a team that can compete. And I know that I said they absolutely need rim protection. And I still agree with that. However, do you think that the basketball minds of JJ Redick, LeBron James, and Luka Doncic are enough to overcome a lack of rim protection?
I think it's enough depending on the matchups, right? Like in that 6-game win streak, they beat the Nuggets, which is a team that I would have said would be one of the teams that would give them problems, right? Because there is no answer for Joker. But JJ Redick solved that riddle by basically playing a man in front of him and a man behind him, and said, if Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. are going to beat me, then we're going to get beat. And if you watch the way they've defended, because the Lakers were like 20th in the league in defense. Over the last 6 weeks, they've been number 1 in the NBA in defense. So they're actually playing defense at a high level on the perimeter. I still think I'm impressed. The fact that they're tied for number 2 in the West. I had them winning the division outright anyway, because it's a weak division. I had them winning the division before Luka came, and they were going to. It's a weak division. Their own division is weak. But in the West, if they played a team like Memphis, that would be interesting. Memphis goes 10 deep. If they played a team like Houston, who their weakness is they don't have great shooting, but they have a lot of great athletes. I mean, Houston can run you into the ground.
Yeah.
I stand by what I said on the trade. I still think the bigger picture is for next season, but because you have Luka and LeBron, there's going to be nights where you're going to be in awe of them because of what they both can do physically and mentally. I think the Lakers have a legit puncher's chance of coming out of the West, because I don't think the West has any one definitive great team. I know Oklahoma City is going to run away with the number 1 seed, and yet I'll stand by what I've been saying all season long. They're not going to go to the finals. I'm not saying we're going to the finals, but they're not going to the finals.
I'm very interested to see how things play out, but since you did bring up Oklahoma City, I will bring up the Cleveland Cavaliers, who now have the best record in basketball. And after a 25-3 start for the Boston Celtics, they roared all the way back on the back of Donovan Spider Mitchell to win that game by 6 points at Boston. Was that the best victory that the Cleveland Cavaliers had post LeBron?
I think so. I think
crazy statement though, right? No,
it is crazy to say, but if we're being honest, yeah, I think so. And if you look at this season, especially if you're a Cavs fan, this is the best feeling you had since the last time LeBron was on the team. I look, as a basketball fan, I don't care who comes out of the East. Obviously, selfishly, I care about who comes out of the West, but I don't care. But if the Cavs are able to beat the Celtics, if they find a way to get into the, not just be the number 1 contender when it's all said, but if they get to the finals, imagine that town, because I'll be honest, it didn't look to me like they were going to see another finals anytime soon, minus LeBron James, honestly. And they did something really unique this offseason. No major moves. They literally opted for continuity, brought everybody back, went with a different system, and Kenny Atkinson has done a terrific job. Should be coach of the year, in my opinion. And they made one great move, obviously, at the trade deadline, bringing in DeAndre Hunter, gives them a 6'9" wing who can match up with anybody's perimeter players. He can guard all 5 positions, plus he's a bucket. So I think they have every element you need. They have size, athleticism, and shooting and depth that when both teams are fully healthy, to me, them in Boston, that's a 7-game series. And I don't know which way that swings.
I am looking forward to the playoffs as a whole in the NBA. I will say this, that there's been substantial movement amongst players as far as like the odds to win awards in the NBA. But Kenny Atkinson is one of the most sure thing bets that you can make. Minus 700 to win Coach of the Year. You know, I think that's a really easy play for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I will say Stephon Castle. I don't know how much Spurs basketball you've watched since Victor Wembanyama has been out, but Stephon Castle is living. He's looking like the no doubt about it Rookie of the Year.
He's an absolute monster because he gives it to you on both ends of the floor. They were talking about, did they need to make a big trade or make another acquisition this coming offseason? And I said, no. If you get a healthy Wemby back, which you will, De'Aaron Fox and Stephon Castle, you already have a big three. Never mind, don't forget about what Devin Vassell can give to you. Like their team outside of Chris Paul, who, by the way, who's had a terrific season at age, I believe he's 38, 39. Terrific season. He's done everything they thought he would do. I love Stephon Castle. I think he's going to be Rookie of the Year. And I think with another year under his belt, I think he makes a big leap next season.
I'm looking forward to it. Devin Vassell and De'Aaron Fox, and they've all really kind of brought in their own. I love the identity of the Spurs. Hopefully you get a lot of people back next year. Hopefully you get Wembanyama back. You bring the whole crew back together. Hopefully you get Coach Pop back.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Hoping everything goes well with him. But that's basically all we have for the show today. Is there anything else you want to cover before we wrap up?
No, I think we covered it between football, Elimination Chamber, and wrestling, and obviously talking about some NBA. I think we covered it all. So I appreciate everybody for coming out.
I appreciate everybody in the chat. We'll be back this same time tomorrow. If you are a late night guy, make sure you listen to the Sports Report tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wire to Wire. We will be running a huge, I'm going to say this at the end of every show, a huge Wire to Wire bracket pool for NCAA March Madness. This will be our biggest one we run ever. So it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out. But guys, I'm going to be honest with you. We're going to run the bracket and I'm going to win it. So
not being cocky at all though, but got you.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Mo, close this out, my friend.
Thank you guys so much for joining us this morning. Make sure you check out all the great content we have at Wire to Wire Network. Wire to Wire Network, we appreciate you.
We'll see you tonight, 10 p.m. for Sports Report. We'll see you tomorrow morning for Coffee and Sports with myself, Mo Better, and Carmike, who's going to be joining us as a group. We're going to be a threesome tomorrow. So thank you guys for tuning in to Wire Network. I'm NFL Genius Gene Walzak. That's the man, Mr. Mo Better. My thumb's got to point the better way. And we are signing out.